All right. Well, I'll get started. My name's Brian Gildea, as he announced there. Some of you I know, some of you I work with. I appreciate you having me to go over some things today. The Meadville area is kind of outside the main sweet spot of Marcellus and Utica work, so it's somewhat rare that companies get to have as much impact as others in southern Pennsylvania and western PA and down in that area. But we've been fortunate to really be impacted by the shale development in this area. So I wanted to take some time to explain what our company does, as well as really the big impacts, kind of the key impacts that this has had for our company. Just for some background, I think was a good idea to bring up. Like I said, I think most of you know a bit about our company in the area. Established in 1960 by my grandfather, Tom Gildea. My uncle Mark and my dad, have run the business after my grandfather and began pipeline systems shortly after that. We've been doing oil and gas work for probably about 30 years. But it was all shallow gas, unconventional gas work here, a lot smaller scale, a lot of similar functions, but like I said, a much smaller scale. We had 2 to 4 man crews and things like that, working all within probably 45 minutes of the Meadville area. But had, like I said, the experience in the oil and gas with a lot of clients in this area. Over the years, we really had to focus on diversifying our skills and what our construction focus was on. I think it's one of the main reasons we're still in business today. It's critical to always be able to flow with go with the flow, change what you do, diversify. So we did that. My grandfather started back in general construction, banks, schools, construction like that. We got into more municipal water and wastewater work along with oil and gas also, and have just rode the peaks and valleys of oil and gas and changed what we needed to do, what type of equipment we had to get, the skill sets we had to hire, and just kind of went with the ebbs and flows of construction over, like I said, a long period of time. So the oil and gas, like I said, has been in our history, but really, as I'll explain through the next few slides, is the last 7 years has been a big focus and kind of where we've diversified into now. As a company. Like I mentioned, we're a local Pennsylvania company, founded in Meadville, Pennsylvania, family owned and operated still currently. So when we began the Marcellus, diving into the current shale development that we have now, gas pipeline work was our first, approach into it. It was a natural fit. We did pipeline work. We had some current in-house welder who was one of the first 2 employees of Pipeline Systems, still works there today. And it was just like I said, a natural fit. Pipe size was much larger. We were doing a lot of 2, 4, and 6-inch pipe, mainly 2. And the first job we jumped into in Marcellus was a 16-inch project for Rice Energy, actually. And that was in 2011, was our first project that served the Marcellus shale. Currently, the pipeline division still does some small diameter piping, mainly above ground and on pads and things like that, but is capable of up to 30-inch steel pipeline currently. Excuse me. The projects we do now were some small, a few thousand feet or little runs that we're doing, or up to 10 miles. We have a couple lengthy projects of that scale currently going on. With the services in pipeline, like I said, it's steel gas pipeline, but there's a lot that goes into it. We generally are performing this work out on the middle of the woods, where we'll have a route provided for us, and we have to go from clearing to all the dirt work to the welding, to the pipeline construction in the ground, and then to hydrostatically test this line, which I have a lot of pictures and things. I think that's better to go through than hearing me ramble up here about it, where I can show some exact pictures of what we do. But like I said, it's a long process, the pipeline. Secondly, we got into facility and mechanical construction. We had the skills in the tradesmen, the experience in the office, some of the people that are here, with just how to manage and handle a facility and a big construction project like that, manage a site and manage the process. So we thought it was a good fit. After probably 3 years of doing really just pipelines in the Marcellus and Utica, we decided it's a natural to go ahead and switch over into some of this heavy mechanical and processing of the gas. Some of the leaders of that division in our company have often said, processing is processing. Regardless if you're processing waste or natural gas, there's a process you have to go through, and we had a lot of experience in that. So we dove into that, baby steps. I mean, it took time to establish getting clients to want you to work in that capacity. Exactly like with the pipelines, when we don't have anything under our belt to go off of, it's a big challenge. And it took time to get someone to take the risk to let us build some of their facility construction. But like I said, it's growing. The last 2 years, our facility division has ramped up exponentially. We do a lot of compressor station work, expansions of them. A lot of the concrete that goes into all these processing facilities, anything above ground, all these pipelines have different facility type metering station sites that need to be completed. And like I said, that's another one of our growing and pretty busy divisions. We've pulled a lot of resources from the water and wastewater traditional construction and are training them really to handle this mechanical work for the natural gas. Third, we really, in these last two have been in the last year, that, integrity management, I have listed, right-of-way maintenance, leak detection, anomaly repair, valve maintenance. Those are some of the many that the big companies that we work for are going to have to deal with. They've sunk millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into infrastructure underground in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. And all of that is going to have ongoing maintenance. It's an asset of theirs. And about a year ago, we were working for a client in Colorado. We were here, but they're from Colorado. We put in miles and miles of pipe for them. They have no presence here. They have no office here. They were working out of a trailer, and we're kind of got to scratching our heads of how are you going to manage your asset when you leave and go to Colorado? And what if there's an issue? What if there's integrity issues? What if anything? Like I said, even of mowing your right-of-way. And it really had us start to think of, we could be a company local to help maintain their asset for them and do repair work and things like that. So that really has taken off. Also, that we have found ourselves now getting called a lot for existing lines in the ground need work. They need to dig up this valve and check its its ratings and replace it if need be. There's pipe that's exposed from erosion. This is old pipe, not new pipe, but a lot of these companies are been around a long time. National Fuel Gas, EQT, companies that have pipe in the ground, they said, we got to replace, lift and lays, where we're lifting up pipe, putting new pipe in. That all falls into the integrity division that we have. And like I said, those opportunities have come and grown, and we think that might be the most long-lasting division we can have here in this field, because new construction will end. We see it happening a lot, but it is going to come to an end sometime, and that's why we're really focusing on the integrity portion, that we feel we could still be servicing these clients for the rest of my career for sure. And the last area that we really again knew into this is more of plastic work and distribution construction. Again, this is very new, but I wanted to bring it up as the fourth division we're trying to focus on. In the last couple months, a lot of people regulation driven, trying to replace some steel with plastic. We're seeing it more and more. It is very frequent in the distribution area of construction, where it's actually the smaller residential work to get this end product to the market, to users. So we just are starting to get into that. We've made some key new hires, switched some things around, going to invest in some equipment where that's a whole nother area of natural gas that we feel we can service. A little bit about the operating area. Like I said, at one point this summer, we were operating in all 4 of the states that shown here. We still are very busy in West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. New York is hit or miss, but it does surprise a lot of people that we do work in New York for this type of work with the way they've banned, their fracking and their issues. But we have completed a fair amount of work in New York. Some of the list of people we work for are there, of Mark West, XTO, Williams, EQT, and you can continue reading those. But all, as you can see, are some of the biggest of the big companies putting out work in this area and producing gas. In 2011, like I mentioned, we started with Rice Energy, and really had our eggs in that one basket. We worked hard. My uncle and I went door to door. We just knocked on Rice Energy's front door with some business cards and said, does anyone want to talk to us? We usually got doors slammed in our face, but we happened to run into a fella there that knew somebody that knew my Uncle Mark and struck it off, and then we were able to establish our first project with him. So that was really how we did it. The first job to start this list of clients was with just knocking on their door, and it worked out, like I said, very well. We worked that first year just for Rice Energy. Year 2, we branched into Mark West Energy. That was via a trade conference down in Pittsburgh with my uncle and I, and just ran across the right people that did some tree clearing for Mark West, made some introductions, and we were able to start up that relationship. One of our strongest to date. You all likely know Mark West Energy. And they, like I said, we've probably done 30, 40 projects for them, no problem, in the last 5 years, and still to this day, great client of ours. It took a lot of work to build this client base. That's one thing that I think many don't understand, the hours, months, years some of these people it took to get them to even speak to us and find the right person to talk to in construction. A lot of these people were out of town companies, out of state companies, and to find someone that flew here and has a construction office out in the country somewhere that works for whoever it may be, Consol, is a challenge to really find those right people. Usually you get the phone no responses, you usually get no email responses. So I did majority of business development over a few years, and then we got to a point where with projects, with bidding, with management of the company, I'm not doing what I need to do in a business development role. So we hired a business development director who lives in the South Point area, where, as you guys know, a lot of these companies are there, and that's taken off. The last year, he's at dinners, he's at events, he's meeting with these people, lunches, breakfast, dinners, and they're living in Washington. So that has really allowed it to go to a whole new level. Like I said, I wasn't capable from Meadville, Pennsylvania to do the marketing and business development we needed. So I have a handful of slides with pictures and items that I wanted to kind of go over. I think, like I said, visual, I can just kind of blow through them and explain what they are. I'd encourage anybody, if there's something I don't cover and you have a question, to either write it down or ask me now. Doesn't matter to me. Feel free to interrupt if you want to know what something is. But I have a handful of slides that I think are just key to, like I said, what we do. A lot of people, another point to bring up, that we're locally in Meadville, Pennsylvania. We find a lot that nobody has any idea really what we do. So anytime I have the opportunity to show some pictures and explain it, I enjoy doing it, because, like I said, Meadville doesn't quite get impacted as much by this industry, but we are very fortunate that we are. As I mentioned, we these pipeline construction projects, we don't do any design work for these. We basically are handed, from the client list I provided, last slide, a bid opportunity. They say, here's your bid, it's coming right up, bid the project. It's all designed, the route is planned out for us. We don't pick route, we don't deal with landowners, we don't do anything like that. We're provided a set of drawings and information and scope of work, and we put a competitive bid to the penny on how much it's going to cost for us to build that project. If awarded, then there you go, and you get to fire right off. I have somewhere in here in my notes to talk about it, but just to say now of what's I think really different and shows the speed of this industry, which I will discuss. We often get company, Mark West will call me on a Monday, say be at a bid meeting Wednesday, the bid's due Friday, you have to start on Monday. That's pretty much how we operate. And as people in here know, they're smiling at me, because they are at the receiving end of that. It is extremely fast paced. Make decisions fast. How can we manage this? How can we fund this? How can we handle this? and it's just extremely fast paced. But we get in there, if we're awarded, and we do our thing. Like I said, often through the woods, we have to, and I do have a pointer here, I think, where we have, like, this is the right of way going up through the woods. We'll have a clearing aspect of it, generally 100 foot wide right of way. We have the dirt work aspect of it, where we have to just prepare the right of way. We strip all topsoil off, and it all is windrowed on the side of the right of way. Then we often do, our stringing activities, our welding. We have to bend the pipe. Again, I'll show you some more pictures of that. Dig the trench, put the pipe in, backfill. That's a really quick version of it. And like I said, a lot of these pictures will, depict some of that. This picture here, these are all fittings that are in the line, because this is a stream crossing. Everywhere there's a stream crossing, you have to break the line and do a separate lowering in of that pipeline. The soils have to be treated different. The bridge, we have to build a bridge across the stream so there's no disturbance. And every stream we have is fully rock shielded, which is this yellow or often black product that protects the pipe even further. They do those in the streams. And you have to set these streams in separately, make your tie-in on each side of the stream. Not fully sure why we have to do that, but I think it's the basis of stop, slow down, let's treat the stream different from an environmental impact standpoint. And they have some different rules and regulations, just as disturbing the dirt. When we start to disturb this dirt within 50 feet of a stream, we have 48 hours to have the pipe in the ground, it back, done deal. If not, we get in serious trouble.
Brian, how do you divert the stream while you're working on it?
We have a few techniques that we use. Often it's by permit of what they've permitted for how the stream to be handled. But usually we just complete a pump around where if the stream, the bottom picture is a stream crossing. Obviously there's no pump around being able to happen there. The top one, we will just take sandbags, dam up the stream, put whatever pump capacity we need. We'll do a water flow test and establish how much water is flowing. Get the necessary pumps, pump it around our working area and let it flow back down the stream. So we basically will create a dry spot right there. Bring 2 excavators in from each side before they were holding this pipe, and they'll just start in the middle of the stream and dig it out. And we usually just use a ladder and have the hoses running across a ladder above your ditch, flowing all the water. And then, you slide your pipe down in there, and then be able to get your backfill done, get your subgrade back in there, get everything back, and then be able to turn off your pipes or off your pumps and be able to flow water again. That's the general method. Sometimes we'll flume it. There's some fluming that we do. This bottom picture, as mentioned, this is a stream crossing. I don't know why they didn't directionally drill this or bore this. They had it designed to be open cut. As you can tell, there is a significant amount of flow through there, and that poses a whole new level of risky construction. When constructing a ported dam like this, all the curtain in there, to basically we have to bypass half the stream. We would go ahead and go out into the stream with an excavator like this, dig half of it, put it in the ground, reflood our structure, go to the other side of the stream, create a dam again, find the end of your pipe. A huge process. This was probably a 2-week deal to cross this stream. Little stream like this is, again, 48 hours, but often a big stream, they treat it just like a highway. You're not going to open cut a highway. You're going to directionally drill it or bore it or some other aspect. But for some reason, that company had that permitted that they needed to open cut. But again, I think an interesting picture that shows the complexity of what a stream crossing can be. Again, handful of pictures. This picture here is just our standard welding procedure. All of it's welded by hand, with anything over 12 inches requires 2 welders. Referred to as brother-lawing the pipe, and they both start at the top, weld to the bottom, and then as many passes as they need. This is a 20-inch pipeline. I believe that was 5 passes, so they'd have their root pass, bead, hot pass, fill and cap, and all their different passes, which require different rods to be used, and they'll complete this weld start to finish. Like I said, this is just right on a fitting, and then you have your 140-foot jointed pipe right here. All the pipe is generally 40-foot joints is what we get, and this would just be a tie-in location where we're at the corner where the right-of-way must be bending, and who knows what degrees there. But they're welding that in the ditch, which is generally what happens on the PIs and corners. A lot of this pipe, as you see in the other picture, is welded on top of the ground. Then we prepare our trench. Then we put the pipe in. but often you have to have areas where you have to weld in the ditch, make sure you have a safe excavation and things of that nature, but sometimes that does happen. The picture on the left there shows also unconventional excavation where we have to hydraulically hammer. We often hit soils, everything's unknown what we're going to hit, and we might hit soils that can't be excavated, and all of a sudden you find yourself with one of these machines out there and you're beating the ground with a hydraulic hammer until you get your depth that you need. So very slow process, but it is something we encounter just about on every project.
Right, go ahead.
With all the pipeline work and that's going on, are you finding it difficult to get qualified welders to work for you? Or
That's a really loaded question because there is a ton of workers in this area. We often joke, and we keep a database of them when they call. It's a free-for-all of guys and everyone. It's a very big industry, but very small. They hear of us awarding a big project. Our office and myself and our key project managers will probably get 100 phone calls a week. They find you and they say, I heard you got a project, you hiring. Because the industry is just constantly jumping to project. So finding welders is not hard. Finding good welders is a bit of a challenge. Loyal welders that we want to have as part of our team for what we offer, poses a different challenge. We have, I think, probably about 18 welders that work for us now, give or take. We had I think close to 20. We've been down to 10, 12, but the average job we run usually has 4 welders, maybe 6 on a big job. We have a very large job going right now that has 8 welders in a row on a main line right down the pipe, continuously welding all day long. But again, that's a really large job. So welders aren't that hard to find, as most tradesmen. The industry is very busy, but it's hard to find good loyal ones.
I was gonna ask you, how long does it take to make 5 passes on a weld?
That weld was probably an hour. It'll take to make
Each
that weld.
pass or
Complete weld.
Complete weld?
Yeah, a complete weld's an hour. We have, and I'm gauging that off of, that's a 375 wall pipe, so 0.375 of an inch. We have a project now that's 594 wall, so a little over a ½ inch thick, and it's an hour and 45 minutes per weld. So per weld,
Oh,
complete weld.
Complete.
So the pipe is done and move on in an hour and 45 minutes. So again, not a lot of time in daylight you got to be getting to get good production. We, try to average 400 or 500 feet a day is what we'd like to try to average. So then you calculate your welders from there. This is a little bit of more of our above ground facility type of work. This picture on top is a dehydration station and I'll tell you in advance, this is not my expertise of the company. So technical questions about dehydration is not my answer, or I don't have the good answer. But this is a lot of work we do. We build these stations for these companies. As you can see the bottom picture, we go in and do pretty extensive dirt work, pad work for them, and they design this, and they provide the tanks, the units and things like that. We'll do all the interconnecting piping, set them on foundations accurately. They have piers like this where all raised pipe has to be, setting towers and tanks like this. Very often we're doing a handful, half a dozen or more projects a year like this for these companies that they need to get their gas one step further to sell. There's processes throughout. So this is just one step before compression that often happens. I thought this picture was interesting, just a show of bending pipe. We have a bending crew that goes out on our project right after we string pipe and basically engineers to the contour of the ground or any turns left to right, up and down, overbend sags that are done. This, in hindsight, I'm not sure why it was bent. That would generally be a fitting. They usually don't put that much bend in a pipe, but it just shows how impressive a bending machine in steel pipe is, that it can withstand that type of bend. They usually allow a degree per foot on the pipe. But like I said, that's being welded in the ditch, because that's where a PI, where a corner is. So that's often where you'll have a tie-in. The pipe to the right of the welder here, this is lineup clamps. He's putting it in the lineup clamps. This pipe might go for 1,000 feet or maybe longer. we've already pre-welded this whole section out there, lowered in, and he's likely fitting this piece of pipe up to a lengthy stringer that there'll be no human occupancy from here back. They just dig an extra large bell hole to be able to make their, their tie-in welds on the ground. Picture here on the left, just some traditional construction of what we see. We have a right of way. Again, this is shows kind of where you hit a stream crossing at the bottom. You can tell some things are just a little bit different down there. We have additional curlex that needs done. This stream was done before we did the pipeline. That's a technique we often use where we'll go put stream crossings in, and then they'll run this part of the pipeline down to the stream and make a tie-in right here. This picture, very common technology that is in the industry is directional drilling. That stream that should have been done earlier pictures, I-79, or sometimes a residential neighborhood. Sometimes they've even done it on landowners that they don't want disturbance, and they'll pay differently to directional drill their property. So we will have this is subcontracted work. We don't self-perform this, but have a couple of really good relationships with local folks. And they'll have a directional drilling rig and drill, basically drill a pilot hole down through the ground, drill a ream passes to create a hole that they feel sufficient. And once they have a good hole, they'll clean the hole, they'll mud the hole, and we'll have all this power creep pipe welded up and strung out. And then they basically put their rods through with a pull head, hook onto the end of our pipe, and slide it right back down through that hole. These can be upwards thousands of feet. We completed a 2,300 foot directional drill this year that I actually have some drone footage of. So again, technology that has its flaws, but it's needed in some places. This pipe also, one thing to note is notice it's black compared to the green that we've been showing, but it's power creep pipe, it's concrete coated pipe. So that when they have to pull that pipe through a hole 100 feet underground, you don't know what type of geology you're in. So they have that extra protected pipe, for that type of reason. Just a good picture of, again, a right of way. That's the welding crew right there. This was just two guys doing all this welding, 12-inch pipe. They often have their welders mounted right on the back of their trucks, as you'll see around town and everything else. And they just are right on the right of way when the weather conditions are good and pull their leads off their truck and make their welds as they go. And all this, I would imagine this was all had a couple passes done already. It's already there, and these two guys are filling and capping, doing the final two passes of the weld right down through the project. This up here is X-ray. Every weld's 100% X-rayed. So these guys will be on our project and preparing to, X-ray the welds after they're done. Two more good pictures. Again, here a directional drill shows us doing a pullback, that pipe the whole way down there in rollers on the excavator, and that this was part of the 2,200 foot pullback right here. Again, stream crossing, as explained earlier, this is a double stream, so you see you have to be 5 feet below the stream bed. So that's why you have to have these precise bends and precise fittings to lower into this the ditch, and then you'll make your tie-ins on each end. Timber mats crossing the stream, as I said, of the environmental impact to minimize that. Another good picture here, and this just shows the sandblasting crew. As someone mentioned earlier, when these welds are completed, we have to sandblast every weld. We have a sandblast crew that operates out of this tracked machine with a sandblaster pot compressor. They go through and sandblast all these welds behind the welders, and then these two guys will coat and tape the welds. So the whole pipeline, its whole duration, will have no bare steel. It'll allow for corrosion purposes. All this pipe will be underground with, this is all coating, then they'll have it sandblasted and tapped and taped. And from start to finish, everything underground has full protection of it for corrosion purposes. We run after this step, we run a holiday detector, it's called jeeping machine, across the pipe that is basically a magnetic, it's a spring, and one guy just has to walk, and it's got a wand on it, and he just walks the whole pipeline, and it has a tail behind it that's a ground, and it just beeps every time it picks up the slightest bit of bare steel. If there's a ding in the coating, if we mess up the tape machine, it'll beep really loud. We have to go back, and I mean, they'll sometimes have to find it. It'll be a pinprick in that coating, but that pinprick could cause serious corrosion and, explode someday.
What's the life expectancy of a pipeline like that?
I have been told 75, 80 years. I've been told more, I've been told less, but I seem to hear that most, that it is well over a 50-year product, as long as the installation is done correctly. That's why so much lies on our shoulders and our guys' shoulders, that this is a serious task. This could, hurt someone someday. I mean, it has to be up to very serious standards of DOT and other regulatory agencies, and is taken very seriously, the procedures of how it goes in the ground. One thing I always find interesting, this pipe, from when it gets unloaded to a truck, it never touches the ground. It's not allowed to touch the ground. So we string this pipe on skids, we weld it on skids, we put it on sandbags in the ditch, and then we shake dirt around it. If it ever touches the ground, we have to take it back out, re-jeep it, make sure there's no imperfections to it. I mean, they treat the pipe with, just very, very protective of the pipe. This here is some drone footage that some of my guys took here. And as you can see, aerial view of the pipeline, some pipe in the ditch, some pipe on top of the ground, PIs that I discussed where you're gonna have a break in the action. At any time through this, like I said, yell out and I can stop it. You can see a stream crossing, totally different soil disturbance, timber bridge across it. So this pipeline was down in, I believe this was down in Washington, Pennsylvania. You can see the skid sets that I mentioned. You have the stringing activities where this excavator is going along, stringing all this pipe to prepare for the welding to take place. Generally, there's a bending machine there. We like to string it, in a lineal fashion like this. That's always the goal. Sometimes you have to stage pipe, access areas, you're all over the place of what you got to do sometimes. This is I believe that was the welding guys, sandblasting guys. All the functions that this is a, big heavy duty wagon that we would load pipe out on there with. And again, this just kind of walks through the process. This is a lot of welded pipe, being prepared for trenching to take place. They leave a joint out for this corner. They'll just leave joints out as they go. You can tell where all the sandblasting took place with all the soil disturbance there. Let's see what else. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fast forward. There was only 10 seconds, so I will move on. An additional video here, this shows directional drill pullback. That we have 3 stringers of Powercrete pipe. Often there's not enough room. This was 2,200 feet. So we have over 700 feet is each one of these. And it's some really impressive footage coming up here that we'll hook all these machines on. That was the end where the pull head's gonna go on. And then every one of these machines via radio in syncrosy are gonna walk down here and help slide that first portion of the pipe down into that hole. And these machines go all the way up, like I said, up to there. This pipeline just goes up there, connects right into that weld pad that everybody's very familiar with seeing a Derrick like that. So like I said, we'll pull this one in and we'll have a mid weld, hook on the second stringer, do the same process over again. But all of that 2,200 feet would probably get pulled in about 4 hours. That's pretty much how it would get in the hole. I wanted to show this as just a little clip of restoration afterwards. Very important to what we do. We fly these right-of-ways. You can see these are water bars to help divert water, designed by an engineering firm. And we will have fly these to help us identify the growth issues. We have to have perfect growth afterwards. So we'll fly these and say, okay, right here, we got a hand seed. This all area, we had dry spell, we had bad catch for some reason. So we'll go out and have to reseed all these areas. Again, put them back to condition for the landowner. Stream crossing with the bridge right there. But all these are water bars that just, again, environmental mitigation plans to help water, instead of coming down and washing away the grass, the water hits those, goes off the right of way. This is all just restoration. I'll show this for a bit here, and then we'll move on. But this is, again, just some pipeline. This is the pipeline we're building for Tenaska Energy Partners, the power plant they're building down in, it's not Scranton, Westmoreland County. I forget the close town. It starts with an S, but they're building a $480 million natural gas fed power plant. Pretty awesome that's come to our area here, and we were fortunate enough to be selected to build the pipelines to feed that. So this was 10 miles of 20-inch gas pipeline. This is interesting, shows a road bore pit. These are where we have to auger, conventionally bore little township roads and things where they don't want us to cut them. But this was the pipeline for that. This was, like I said, big project, just finished right now, just got tested right now. I'm gonna move on a little bit. And I can put that on while we're eating. That's a 9-minute video. So if some people wanna just put that on and watch it. I wanted to make this slide to just show a couple key safety and environmental. So instrumental to what we do. And I think it's a great point to always drive home that the number 2 things for the people we work for, all that client list that I had in the beginning. If you don't have safety, you don't speak to them. You don't get a chance, you don't have an opportunity. If you don't have the best safety records, best safety rates, great programs, everything. Same with environmental. If there's any issues out there, the environmental inspector can shut down the job quicker than every inspector out there. We're not allowed, that 100-foot limits of disturbance, you go outside of it. I mean, I've had guys had to get fired off a job for stepping outside that 100 feet. I mean, disturbing the soil is just not an option outside of the LLDs, like I said. Mainly driven of not wanting bad press. I mean, we all know how rough we take it, the people in this industry and the haters that really are against what we do and think it's wrong. You know, the Mark West and Williams and CNX, they don't want to hear about a safety incident, and they don't want to hear about an environmental incident. So they hold that to the utmost, standards. The policies and procedures, like I said, our safety department has grown into a whole new animal in the last 5 years. No other option. We're proud of it. We've always taken safety very seriously, but we are at a point now where we have a safety director, we have field safety coordinators on almost every project. The IS Networld, an online vetting service to be able to work for these companies. They grade you on all your safety policies and procedures. Every guy is Veriforce OQ trained, operator qualifications to be able to, again, more paperwork of documenting that we're qualified from a safety standpoint to do this work. The inspection I mentioned, the authority they have is unbelievable. The capital investment we put into safety, we're spending upwards of $150,000 a year in safety only, right to the project, right to our company. So I want to get into a couple things of how it affected us. That's a lot of what we do. Big thing here, revenue. It's drastically changed what our revenue is at our company. We went from 2012 to 2017, we were at 12 million a year in annual revenue, to we're projected to about 41 million this year. So just a giant revenue, boost for our company, directly impacted due to Marcellus and Utica shale. What else do I have here? One thing ties to revenue and why it is. Not only the industry's busy, it's a lucrative industry, but the pace of turning dollars, as you know, is unbelievable. We take projects that in the average construction industry would probably take a year to build, and we have to build them in 3 months. So revenue turns faster. We see it all the time. Like I mentioned, this is where I was going to talk about the bid it, find out about it, bid it, get awarded it, start. Every process in what we do is expedited to probably faster than what it should be, but these companies need to flow gas. They need to make their money. So they then push that to us of, you just need to work faster. So turning of dollars is very unbelievable. I mean, it's kind of scary. Some other things that affected us, equipment. Some facts here, we had 55 pieces of heavy iron that we've added to our equipment fleet since 2013. 175 pieces of supplementary equipment, still large expensive equipment. We've spent a little over $8 million in purchases of these assets, and we've spent a little over $8.4 million in rental paid out to rent these assets. So we have a combined $16 million outlay of cash to be able to operate on the scale we're operating at today. Excuse me. Our office staff is very noteworthy of what it's done in our office locally in Meadville. We traditionally had a 6-7 folk office in there with some administrative support, some management, project management, ownership, and accounting, things like that. And now I believe we're at 22, might be off by a number, but 22, 23 people in the Meadville office now. So again, it's safety has ramped up, the administrative support that's needed, our finance department, all of these things have just ramped up to a level that have to be there to sustain this type of work. PSI Transportation, pretty exciting that we were again able to start another entity. We started Pipeline Systems Transportation due to how much trucking we were doing of all this heavy iron we were saying we just had to purchase. So we found ourselves subbing out probably $300,000-$400,000 a year in third-party trucking, going right to someone else. We decided, let's start a trucking company. Bought ourselves a couple semis, some trailers, and now they're all busy all day, every day, full time. We need more trucks and trailers. Our field staff also, massive increase. When I labored in the field, I was a welder's helper, and we had, I think, 6 guys building these projects in our pipeline division, and we were pushing probably 175 of them this year. So again, the growth of the field, it's needed to build these projects, but the growth of the field staff is very significant. Also to note with the field staff and how this affected us of rates in general, what we're able to pay guys. You know, I have guys that have pretty much doubled their pay in the field in 5 years doing the same exact task they did 5 years ago, simply because the industry demands it. So that's something I didn't think of putting this presentation together, but how it affected us is absolutely ties to our outlay of cash to our people. Demanding industry, busy industry, wages are high. Wages are very high. So our average $20 an hour construction worker is now a $30 an hour construction worker. And he, like I said, he has the same skill set, but it's just what this industry has, you know, how that affected us. As mentioned, new building, field offices. We were able to put a $250,000 expansion onto our office in Meadville. We added 4 offices. We put an upstairs, took out some shop, did a whole lot of renovations to our own office, as well as we've had field offices in Butler County, in Bel Air, Ohio, and now we have a field office down in Washington, Pennsylvania with a yard. So again, these are some ways that this affected us, simply tied to the oil and gas work, you know, that we're all have been talking about. So really, in conclusion, just a few key points to address. My uncle, you know, right place at the right time. My uncle Mark, the president of our company, has always said to me, and since I started there, about that he feels in life he was a day late and a dollar short. And we finally had the stars align that we were able to take advantage, and we were right on time. We didn't miss the boat, you know, at all. We had the opportunity, and we've capitalized on it. I have, you know, a bullet about being proud of, you know, this from a personal standpoint. I'm a 3rd generation in this business, and I believe it's probably about a 4% success rate for a 3rd generation family member to successfully run a business. I take that as one heck of a challenge in front of me. But like I said, coupled with the fact that we have this energy industry here, that's given me a platform to stand on to help continue the legacy that my dad and my family has started. So like I said, I take it extremely personal and really want to just take things to the next step that my family was able to, you know, provide for me. Key point of the sacrifice that comes with this. It's not easy, it's not for everyone, and it's a huge challenge. We work hard, and we work really hard. Everyone in our office, everyone in the field is very dedicated to our company and what we do. So it's nothing that everyone can do. You have to have the right mindset and the right people to be able to do it. The professional management team that this has allowed us to create, I can't speak enough about. They're the best around. We have put a team together of management from all facets of construction, from finance to administrative support to field management to safety, that I'd put up against anyone. And again, this is because of the Marcellus and Utica shale development. We've been able to invest in these people, have these people, pay these people, and retain the people that we have. And like I said, I think the Marcellus and Utica shale is the reason why someday I'm going to be able to hopefully say I can set the table here for my kids. I have 2 daughters, and I don't know if they're going to want to work in the family business or not, but I want to be able to have the opportunity that I had. And like I said, the Marcellus and Utica shale is really the reason that's kind of come together. So I'm hoping that they have that opportunity, and it's thanks to this shale gas work to, like I said, be able to provide all the details I gave today. So that's all I have. I think I was probably over half an hour. But, so if there's any questions now, fire away. I'll do my best to answer it, and we can go from there.
Brian, without a crystal ball, you can't know how long this will go, but in your management and in your projections, how long do you think this level of intensity as far as pipeline work will last at this point?
If I had to guess, I would say new pipeline construction will continue in this area for at least 10 years, would be my guess. I think there's going to be significant new pipeline construction going on. I just don't know about exactly how far are they going to branch out. We might have fully developed the southwestern PA area. You can only put so much pipe in the ground. Are we then going to be transporting gas to other states, other places, overseas? So I think the work locally will be there for at least 10 more years. But I think the trickle effect of this shale development, it'll be long past when I'm working here. I'm confident of that. Yeah.
Brian, how do the companies solicit the proposals? They use the Dodge report system, or is that just for public projects, or what?
How do they solicit the proposals to build
Like contracts, yeah.
So how do they, to pick contractors in general, or like contractors like us?
Right.
It's, again, you have to form these relationships is a challenge. You know, they generally, we never are randomly get reached out to of, hey, you're a pipeline company, we want to solicit you to bid work. You have to form that relationship, get that going. You kind of get your foot in the door. You get that opportunity. You become an approved vendor, basically. We get on the list that we're approved. We go through the safety process. We have an audit next Wednesday from Shell. Again, great opportunity for us. We have 5 people from Shell flying from Texas to have a full one-day audit with our company from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 to see, are we up to par to work for Shell? And those are the types of steps we go through. Once we pass, which I'm generally confident that we'll pass, we get the opportunity to bid projects. And then they just start flowing in. And I don't think I mentioned, but like I said, with that diverse client base, the projects now, the industry is way busier than I've seen it ever before in the last 6 years. We're turning down probably equal as much work as we're bidding, not even providing a price for, because it's just not feasible for our company. We're a small company, family-owned company. Capital is critical. I mentioned the dollar's turning fast, really fast. We just can't sustain that. So we just take a really slow look at what projects fit us. We have our client base established. We're an approved vendor with the majority of people developing in the area, and we just kind of they send us projects and we pick and choose what we feel fits for us.
Are there other questions for Brian?
No.
While you have the floor, would you like to introduce your people you have here tonight?
Yeah, we have a few. You all know Crystal. I'll start over there. She's a member here and been with us longer than I have. How many years now? 8 years? 9 years. Works as our backbone of everything we do. The support of all these projects, everything I went through and talked about, Crystal has been kind of the #1 go-to girl for me to help establish all this, administer it from the office standpoint. She's behind the scenes, but equally as important as you know, everybody out there to manage these projects. Terry, she's also newer to us, works in the finance side of things. And again, the finance department, I don't think I stressed enough. I talked about revenue turning, but the work that they have to do to you know, punch in the time of all these guys and the needy men we have out there that call and complain to Terry about something. She deals with the headaches, deals with all the headaches from the money side of things, and our, you know, accounts getting paid, you know, our accounts receivable, our accounts payable. The finance department has grown where we generally had one person there, and now we have a solid 4, and who knows where our expansion is there. My father, Roger, is here. He's one of the head, obviously, management of the firm. Works a lot in the facility work, and started some of the other branch companies we have, Gilcon and Associates and some others that you see around, but now handles a lot of facility work, and we all work together. We work alongside each other with the overall management of the corporation. James Slater, to my left here, he is again a newer member of our team that came in as our new CFO. So he handles the, you know, top of everything from the finance aspect of it. Again, everyone I just named here is one of those many amazing young professionals that we have at the business that put a team together that, like I said, is exceptional at their jobs and helping manage everything that we've talked about today. So those are our guys here in the office.
Well, thanks
Yeah.
very much. We appreciate it. Glad to see a local company thriving this way, and we appreciate your taking your time to speak to us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.